Let's be completely honest with each other for a second. When you are a man of a certain distinguished vintage, and you happen to be sharing your life, your bed, and your health insurance with a man who is exactly 30 years younger than you, your mind is a dangerous neighborhood to walk through alone at night. 30 years. That is not just an age gap, that's an entire cultural epoch. When I was out in the streets fighting for my life and discovering the liberating joy of a proper leather jacket, he wasn't even a thought in his mother's head. So when a relationship like that suddenly hits a bump in the road, your brain doesn't just jump to conclusions. It takes a supersonic jet to the worst case scenario. And lately, the vibe in our house was off. Now, as gay men, we are naturally blessed with an internal radar for drama, don't we? We can detect a shift in the emotional atmospheric pressure from 3 rooms away. And for about 3 weeks, my husband was acting like a man with a massive, heavy secret. He was distant. He was staring out the window like a tragic heroine in a Victorian novel. And naturally, instead of acting like a mature, rational adult with a PhD in life, I let my imagination run completely wild. First, I thought, oh God, he's sick. Every time he cleared his throat, I was practically looking up local funeral directors who specialize in tasteful, dramatic arrangements. I thought he was hiding some terrible diagnosis from me, trying to spare my old man heart from the shock. But then, the paranoia took a sharper, pettier turn. I thought, well, maybe he's finally realized that my knees make a clicking sound when I get out of bed, and he's found a shiny new model. Let's face it, the gay community isn't exactly famous for worshiping wrinkles. I started wondering if he'd found some 20-something gym rat who doesn't need to take a fiber supplement every morning. I was checking his phone out of the corner of my eye, looking for the telltale orange glow of Grindr, wondering if he was out there collecting new hobbies. When that didn't pan out, I shifted to financial ruin. I thought, maybe he's gambled away our savings on crypto, or maybe he's secretly funding a very expensive habit. And look, when I say an addiction, in our community that could mean anything from standard substance abuse to an unhealthy obsession with buying limited edition designer sneakers, or spending $3,000 on circuit party tickets in Palm Springs. He was looking at his bank account and sighing. He was looking at me and sighing. He was holding back. The intimacy was different. And if you know anything about a good marriage, you know that when the energy in the bedroom shifts from enthusiastic marathon to polite obligation, something is rotten in Denmark. I felt like I was living with a beautiful, anxious ghost. He was there, but his mind was entirely elsewhere, trapped in some dark, suffocating room I didn't have the key to. So, finally, I couldn't take it anymore. The suspense was killing me, and frankly, at my age, I don't have the cardiovascular endurance for that much anxiety. It was a Tuesday night. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. I walked in, poured 2 heavy glasses of wine, because if you're going to get your heart broken, you might as well do it with a good vintage. And I sat down right across from him. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "All right, babe, out with it. Who is he? Or worse, how much money do we owe the IRS? Just give it to me straight." Well, don't give it to me straight, you know what I mean. Just give it to me raw or gaily forward. He looked up at me, and his eyes were completely bloodshot. No anger, no guilt, just this overwhelming, crushing wave of sadness. And he didn't say a word about another man. He didn't say a word about a secret addiction or a terminal illness. He looked at me, caught his breath, and said, "I'm terrified of the clock." And in that moment, the entire universe shifted. I realized that all my petty, superficial fears, the typical anxieties of an older gay man worried about losing his looks or his relevance, were completely missing the mark. My concerns were completely wrong. He wasn't pulling away because he loved me less. He was pulling away because he loved me so deeply that the sheer weight of it was paralyzing him. And so tonight, I am not speaking for myself. I am speaking on behalf of my husband. I am pulling back the curtain on what happens when a young man gives his entire heart to a man who is already in the autumn of his life. He looked at me and confessed that his entire day had become an exercise in survival. He told me that every single morning he wakes up before me, looks at my face on the pillow, and instead of just thinking about how lucky he is, his brain immediately calculates the math. He looks at the gray hair, he looks at the lines around my eyes, and he realizes that because of that 30-year gap, he is running out of road. He said to me, "You spent your youth building your walls, finding your success, and learning how to survive. You've already had a lifetime, but my lifetime is just starting, and I've invested the entirety of it in a man who has a massive head start toward the finish line." He told me that his greatest desire in this life is simply to do everything for me and everything with me. He wants to match the energy I've given him. For the years we've been together, I've been the protector. I've been the one with the life experience, the one who handled the crises, the one who knew how to navigate the storms. I took care of him, nurtured him, and gave him a safe space to grow into the incredible man he is today. And his deepest, most agonizing frustration is that he wants to return the favor. He wants to take care of me with that exact same fierce, unconditional devotion. But he looks at the reality of aging, and he realizes that he might not have enough time to do it. He feels cheated by the calendar. He feels like he arrived at the party too late. And just as he's falling completely, helplessly in love, the venue is preparing to turn on the lights and tell everyone to leave. He is screaming inside because he feels like he won't have enough time to love me more, not enough time to love me deeper. He looks at a standard lifespan and realizes that when I am 80, he will only be 50. He will be in the absolute prime of his life, and he will be stepping into the role of a caregiver, watching the man who taught him how to love slowly fade away. And then came the most brutal, honest truth of all. A truth that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces while simultaneously making me feel like the richest man alive. He looked at me through his tears and said, "You are the first person who ever truly saw me. You are the only man who has never emotionally hurt me. You built a world where I felt entirely safe. And my absolute worst nightmare is that once you are gone, I have to step out of this safe house and face a life of total, blinding uncertainty completely alone." He told me that the mere thought of ever finding a new partner, of ever trying to date again in the future, doesn't bring a sense of hope. It brings a profound, nauseating pain. Because how do you replace a masterpiece? How do you go back out into the meat market, back onto the apps, back into the shallow, exhausting world of modern gay dating, when you have already experienced a love that came straight from the soul? He hasn't been broken by love yet, and the thought of being broken by my absence makes him want to stop the clock entirely. I sat there on that bed, holding this beautiful, brilliant 29-year-old man in my arms, listening to him weep for a future that hasn't even happened yet. And I realized that my job as the older partner wasn't to give him some superficial, sugary comfort. It wasn't to lie to him and say, "Oh, don't worry, babe. I'm going to live to be 150, and we're going to ride stationary bikes together in Ibiza forever." No, my job was to give him the one thing that age and experience actually buy you: perspective. Hard-won, unfiltered, spiritual perspective. I held his face in my hands, looked into those eyes that I love so much, and I told him the absolute truth. I said, "My love, you are entirely right. Everything you are afraid of, it is going to happen, regardless of whether we like it or not. That is the price of admission for a love like this. There is no version of this story where we escape the reality of time. Unless we get hit by a meteor tomorrow, one of us is going to have to watch the other one leave this earth. And statistically, historically, biologically, it is probably going to be me leaving you. But here is the mistake you are making. By allowing yourself to be paralyzed by the shadow of tomorrow, you are actively committing a crime against the reality of today. Worrying about the future doesn't protect you from the pain of loss. It just robs you of the joy of the present. It is an absolute trap. When you spend your energy staring at the countdown clock, tracking the seconds as they tick away, you are transforming our relationship from a living, breathing sanctuary into a dynamic tragedy. You are treating our love like a death sentence instead of a life insurance policy. Think about the sheer math of how you're looking at it. If you look at every passing day and think, "That's one less day I get to have him," then you are turning our time together into a curse. You are living in a state of perpetual mourning for a man who is currently sitting right in front of you, drinking your wine and breathing your air. You are burying me while I am still warm. We have to flip the script on this narrative. We have to change the way our minds process the finite nature of our lives. Instead of looking at the clock as a countdown to a funeral, we have to look at every single minute we are given as an absolute miraculous blessing. The fact that out of 8 billion people on this planet, across a 30-year generational divide, our paths managed to cross, our souls managed to recognize each other, and we managed to build a healthy, thriving, deeply satisfying life together, that is not a tragedy. That is a statistical miracle. Every single minute has to count, and it shouldn't count because we are panicked. It should count because we are profoundly grateful. The finite nature of our time shouldn't make our love weaker. It should make it infinitely sharper, hotter, and more intentional. When you know you have a limited amount of time in a beautiful city, you don't spend the whole trip sitting in the hotel room crying because you have to catch a flight next week. You get out into the streets. You taste the food. You drink the wine. You make love in the middle of the afternoon with the windows open. You take in every single sight, sound, and smell until your soul is completely full. I told him, "I don't need you to spend the next 20 or 30 years preparing to be a widow. I need you to spend the next 20 or 30 years being my husband. I need you to take all that fierce, protective energy, all that desire to care for me, and channel it into the current moment. Love me deep right now. Rub my back right now. Laugh at my terrible jokes right now. Let's build an empire of memories so dense, so rich, and so beautiful that when the day finally comes that the clock does stop, you won't be left with a life of uncertainty. You will be left with an indestructible fortress of love that will protect you for the rest of your days." Our bodies are temporary. This skin, these joints, this gray hair, it's all just a rental suit we wear for a little while. But the connection we have built, the way our souls have intertwined, that doesn't care about a birth certificate. That is eternal. And when you realize that time is a tool to deepen your love rather than a weapon designed to destroy it, that is the moment you stop counting the seconds and start making the seconds count. I wanted to share this story with you tonight because I know that within our community, relationships look a million different ways. We don't all follow the traditional, cookie-cutter, heteronormative script. We love who we love. We build families out of chosen pieces. We find comfort in places that the rest of the world might look at and judge or misunderstand. And if you are watching this right now and you happen to be in a relationship with a significant age gap, whether you are the older partner holding the wisdom or the younger partner holding the fear, I want you to take a deep collective breath. It is incredibly easy to let the outside world or your own internal anxieties infect the sacred space you've built with your partner. The world will tell you that it won't last. The world will whisper about motives or timelines or the inevitable heartbreak that waits at the end of the road. But let me tell you something. Every single relationship ends in heartbreak eventually. Every single one. Whether you are the exact same age or 50 years apart, mortality has a perfect record. No one gets out of here alive, and no one gets to keep their partner forever in the physical sense. So the fear of loss is not a reason to hold back. It is the ultimate reason to go all in. If you are the younger partner, stop looking at your man and calculating his expiration date. Stop treating him like a fragile piece of glass that you're waiting to watch shatter. Treat him like the vital, powerful, loving force that he is today. Give him the gift of your presence, not the burden of your preemptive grief. And if you are the older partner, don't let your own insecurities about aging make you pull away or feel like you are a burden to the man who loves you. If he chose you, he chose all of you. He chose your history, he chose your wrinkles, he chose your wisdom, and yes, he even chose the clicking sound your knees make when you get out of bed. Let him love you. Let him care for you. Give him the honor of being there for you, because that is how he fulfills his soul. We have to stop treating time like a curse. We have to stop looking at our relationships through the lens of a countdown clock. Flip the perspective. Every morning you wake up next to the man you love, look at him and realize that today is a bonus round. Today is an extra credit day. Today is a beautiful, unearned blessing. Make the jokes, use the double meanings, keep the fire hot in the bedroom, and keep the vulnerability raw in the living room. Live so authentically, so passionately, and so thoroughly in the present tense that fear simply doesn't have the oxygen it needs to survive in your house. Open up the doors of your own inner closet. Let the light in, let the fear out. And remember that a love that comes straight from the soul doesn't care about the calendar. It only cares about the depth of the connection you are brave enough to create right here, right now. Thank you so much for sitting with me tonight in The Inner Closet. This channel is a space where we talk about the raw, unfiltered truths of our lives, the things we often keep locked away in the dark. If this message resonated with you, if it gave you a little bit of comfort, or if it reminded you to love your partner just a little bit harder tonight, please hit that like button. It truly helps the channel grow and ensures that our community can find these conversations when they need them most. Subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell so you never miss a monologue, and drop a comment down below. Tell me your story. Tell me how you handle the fears, the time, and the beautiful complexities of your own relationships. I read every single one of them, and I love building this space with you. Until next time, hold each other close, make every single minute count, and remember that the time left is always, always a blessing. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye for now.